Sadaशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति.
Okay, so we had completed the Dvitiya Valli of the second chapter, and now we are in the last section, the Tritiya Valli of chapter 2 of the Dvitiya Adhyaya. This is the last section, which has some 18 odd mantras. Yes, it has got 18 mantras, and once this is over, we would have completed the Kathopanishad. Now, this last Valli, we have three topics: Brahmajnanam, Brahmajnana sadhanani, that is the disciplines to be followed to get Brahmajnanam, and Brahmajnana phalam. So three things are there: the Jnanam itself, the sadhana to be followed for attaining that Jnanam, and the phalam, the benefits of that Jnanam. And this Valli begins with a very well-known mantra. It defines Brahman as Jagat Karanam, the cause of the universe. And it specifically says both Nimitta as well as Upadana Karanam, both the efficient and the material cause. Nimitta Karanam is the efficient cause or the instrumental cause. Upadana Karanam is the material cause. And in this context, we should remember the spider example in Mundaka Upanishad. The spider is both the efficient as well as material cause. So this universe, this Jagat, which has emerged from Brahman, is now sustained by Brahman and also finally resolves into Brahman alone. And by knowing this Brahman in this manner, one gets free from samsara, one gets moksha. So Jagat Karana Brahma Jnanena Eva moksha praptihi. Only by that knowledge of Brahman can you get moksha. Now, when I look at the definition of Brahman as Jagat Karanam, what do I find? We have seen in the past. I find that Brahman is none other than me, than I myself. And therefore, if I am going to say that Brahman is also Upadana Karanam, then I will have to say that I am also the material cause of the universe. I am the very Srishti Karanam, the cause of the universe. I am the Sthiti Karanam, the cause of the maintenance of the universe. And I am the Laya Karanam, that cause, that final cause into which the universe also dissolves. And this knowledge alone can give liberation. So the first two mantras of this section, they present Brahman as Jagat Karanam. So we will read. Atha Tritiya Valli.
Atha Tritiya Valli.
This is the first mantra. Urdhva Moola Vakshakaha.
Urdhva Vakshakaha.
Esho Ashwastha Sanatanaha.
Esho Ashwastha Sanatanaha.
Tadeva Shukram Tad Brahma.
Tadeva Shukram Tad Brahma.
Tadeva Amritam Uchyate.
Tadeva Amritam Uchyate.
Tasmik Lokashrita Sarve.
Tasmin Loka Shrita Sarve.
Tadunatyeti Kaschana.
Tadunatyeti Kaschana.
Etadvaitat. Okay, so this is Yamraj replying to Nachiketas that this is the Brahman that you have asked about. Etadvaitat. And how does he say? Eshaha. So first line, the second word, Eshaha. You have to add there, Eshaha Jagat. Jagat you have to supply. So Eshaha Jagat, this universe is what? Sanatanaha Ashwathaha. So break the Eshaha into Eshaha, drop the Avagraha to Eshaha Ashwathaha Sanatanaha. So Eshaha means this Jagat is Sanatana Ashwathaha. It's like an eternal Ashwatha tree. So Ashwatha tree is a fig tree basically. Okay, and we call it people tree also. So this Jagat is like people tree, and he says Urdhva Mulaha, whose Mulam, the root, is Urdhvam, is above, and Avak Shakaha. Shakaha Avak. The branches are below, shakhas are below. Tadeva Shukram. That Tadeva, that root, that Mulam is Shukram, is pure. Tad Amritam. It is Brahm. This is eternal Brahman. Sarve Lokaha, all the worlds, Tasmin Shritaha are based on that Brahman. That U is emphasis, verily, indeed. Na kaschana atyeti tat. Nothing exceeds that. Na kaschana, nothing. Atyeti tat exceeds that Brahman. Etadvaitat. This indeed is the Brahman that you asked about. One of the most important mantras of this Upanishad, a very famous mantra. And of course, you will remember that Lord Krishna borrows this mantra where?
Chapter 15.
Chapter 15, the first three slokas of chapter 15 are based on this mantra alone. Now, to look at this mantra, we should look at the Shankaracharya's commentary on this particular portion of the Upanishad. So this mantra is compared to is beautiful in the sense that the universe is being compared to a peepal tree. The peepal tree is a huge tree, and therefore the universe is being projected as being huge, and therefore is compared to a peepal tree. And Shankara adds over here, Vrikshaha. Vriksha is not mentioned over here. So Shankara says Vrikshaha. Vrikshaha, the definition is Vriksha, Vrishcha, that which can be cut. Vrishcha, that which can be cut, that is a Vrikshaha, that is a tree. That which can be cut is the tree. And again, Shankara defines samsara very, very elaborately. So he says this samsara is full of a lot of dukkham, a lot of misfortunes. Like what? Janama, Jara, Marana, Shokadi. Janma, birth, Jara, old age, Maranam, death, Shokadi, sorrows, etc. So the samsara is full of these misfortunes. He has given 4 examples. And he says, what is the nature of the samsara? Anyatha swabhavaha pratikshanam. Pratikshanam means every instant. Pratikshanam. And pratikshanam anyatha swabhavaha means that nature is changing every instant. The samsara doesn't have a constant nature. It keeps on changing every moment, and therefore it is difficult to understand. So he gives an example. Maricha Udaka. Maricha Udaka is mirage water in the desert. Why does he say it is comparing it to pratikshanam anyatha swabhavaha, the nature changing every instant? Because you can see the mirage water in the desert, and if you do not recognize it for being a mirage and you go towards it in the hope of getting to drink the water, when you go close to it, it disappears and appears in another place, and therefore it is difficult to understand. So Maricha Udakaha. He also uses another adjective, Gandharva Nagraha, like the city in the sky. If you look at the clouds, you can visualize the clouds to be shaped like a city with buildings and vehicles and animals. All these you can do, especially if you are traveling in an airplane and you're looking down and you have some imagination. You can look at the cloud formation and you can visualize a city there with vehicles and animals and people, everybody inside, with palaces and houses. So, but what is the beauty of that? It's really not there. It only appears to you. Therefore, Gandharva Nagraha, Mithya. There's a Mithya Vastu, not really there. So Shankara says, not only is this universe like the mirage water in the desert, constantly changing, but it is also like the apparent city in the sky. It seems to be there, but it's really not there. Why so? Drishta Nashta Swarupatvat. Its nature is Drishta Nashta. Swarupam is nature. Nature of the samsara is Drishta Nashta. It is appearing and disappearing every moment. So first it is born, then it is gone. Drishta Nashta Swarupatvat. And similarly, he says, Avasanecha Abhavatmakaha Vrikshavat. Like this tree, like the tree, which at the end of its life, it vanishes. It gets destroyed. It gets absorbed in the soil. Like that tree, like the people tree, Avasane, at the end, Abhava Atmakaha. This samsara also does not remain. It's a very beautiful definition. So he's showing you a cycle. That every cycle consists of construction and destruction. So birth is there, death is there. And if you have studied history, you can look back. Indian history I'm talking about. You can look back. There are so many major dynasties, right? In this country, in Bharatvarsh, there were so many major dynasties. Which has survived? So you saw Maurya dynasty, which was around 300 BC, right? It lasted for about 100, 115, 116 years. Then there was the Ashoka the Great. So great dynasty, but lasted approximately 40 years. Then Kanishka dynasty, another 30 years. Then Gupta dynasty, 130 years. Then Muhammad Ghazni dynasty, another 130 years. Then Chola, then Lodi. So many dynasties were there, but none of them have lasted. And therefore he says, this samsara is nissaraha. It's not samsaraha, it is nissaraha. Nissaraha means without any essence. Okay. Now, when you look at the two words, nissaraha and samsaraha, don't get confused. Samsara is samyak sarati, that which is constantly moving. So nissaraha is without vinasara, without any essence at all. Like the onion, the onion has no essence. You can peel the onion, peel the onion, peel the onion. Ultimately, what remains? Nothing remains. Another example is the stem of the banana tree. You can keep on peeling and peeling and peeling. Ultimately, nissaraha, nothing remains. There is no essence at all. And that is why this Jagat is compared to Ashwathaha. Ashwathaha is the people tree or the fig tree. And the derivation is very interesting. Shwaha na tishtati iti Ashwathaha. Shwaha means what? Tomorrow. Na tishtati means will not remain. So that which does not remain for tomorrow, and tomorrow has to be taken as the future, that which will not remain in the future, that is Ashwathaha. So that's why it's being compared to the tree, because the universe also is not permanent. And as I said, Shankara adds over here, Vrikshaha, Vrishya, that which can be cut. Why does he say samsara will vanish? Because samsara vanishes during pralayam, and when else? During pralayam, samsara is not there. When else is samsara not there?
Shushupti avastha.
Okay. Sushupti avastha. Granted. One more.
Jnanam.
Jnanam. So one jnanam, samsara is not there. Therefore, shwaha na tishtati. It does not remain forever. It does not remain tomorrow. So if this Jagat, the universe, is being compared to a tree, then there must be some basis for the comparison, right? There must be some similarities. So what are the similarities between Jagat and Ashwatthana tree? So you can see some are mentioned in this mantra itself. And they are spread all over the place actually. You don't find them all in one place. So some this mantra mentions, some Krishna mentions in chapter 15, and some Shankaracharya mentions in his commentary on both Bhagavad Gita and the Kathopanishad. Shankaracharya also mentions some of these comparisons. So let us look at a few of the similarities. The first and most obvious similarity, which I already stated, is Mahatvam. The people tree is huge in size. Samsara is also infinite in nature. Even today, we are not really able to comprehend the size of the universe, which is not static anyway. It is changing at an alarming rate. Okay. Then the second one is the moolam. The root of the tree is adrishta. So the second one is adrishta moolam. The second one is adrishta moolatvam, which means the root of the tree, which is the support for the tree, cannot be seen from, if you are looking at the tree, you cannot see the root because it is, in this case here, it is above, he says, right? It is urdhvam, it cannot be seen. Similarly, this root for samsara cannot be seen. The universe also has a root, has a support, and that support is pratyaksha agocharam, not visible to your eyes. And in fact, in the Bhagavatam, there is an example about to illustrate this. So that Bhagavatam, they say that when you want to water the tree or water the plant, what do? You don't spray water on the whole plant. You give water only to the root. And even though you are giving water only to the root, you are sure that the nourishment is reaching all the branches and all the leaves, even though you cannot see how it reaches. And similarly, when I give offerings to the Lord, that nourishment reaches the whole universe, which also includes me, but in a manner which I cannot recognize. Okay, so adrashta moolatvam. It cannot be seen. The root cannot be seen. Then the next one is many branched. Bahu shakatvam. The tree has many branches. Sama above, sama below. Universe has also got many lokas. So atala, patala, rasala, sama above, sama below. And bhuloka, where we are, is the middle one. Swargaloka, etc. are the upper branches. Then the leaves. Parnavatvam. Parnani, says Bhagavad Gita. The tree is full of leaves, parnani. And these are important to sustain the tree. Why? Why is a leaf important to sustain the tree? Simple 5th or 6th standard science.
Food production.
Because of the photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis. Okay. So those who don't know what photosynthesis is, that you can do a bit of Google search and you can figure out what photosynthesis is. So the leaves are important. And therefore, just like these leaves are important for sustaining the tree, samsara is sustained by the leaves called karma. So the leaves are being compared to karma. Just as the leaves sustain the tree, keep it healthy, the karma is required for keeping the universe going, especially Vaidika karma, especially that karma which is specified in the Karma Kanda. Why so? Why is karma important for sustaining the universe? Very, very basic question. That's a Bodha question actually.
Because when we offer our karmas to the universe, we support all the creation. It's not only about taking from nature and the universe, but also about giving and protecting.
I want an answer which is rooted in the Upanishad study that we have done. Anybody?
It's the cause of papam and punyam and further birth and death.
Yes, exactly. What is the product of karma? Papam and punyam. What is the role of papam and punyam? Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. which is the cycle of creation. And therefore, it is because of karma that cycle of creation is sustained. That is why it's being compared to the leaves. The world is created solely for karma to be exhausted, to be experienced. So that is the fourth one. The fifth one is phalatvam. The trees will produce phalam, fruits. And the universe also produces fruits. What are the fruits of the universe? We are in Upanishad. You can't keep quiet.
All experience, good and bad, all experience.
Sukham and Dukkham, good and bad experiences, they are the products. So phalatvam is there. That is another similarity, that the trees produce fruits and so does the universe. And the third one, for eating the fruits, we saw this, where for eating the fruits, what happens? Where did we see this? Dvau Suparno
Mundakopanishad.
Mundakopanishad. What happens? Lots of fruits come and perch on the upper and the lower branches for consuming the fruits. What is the similarity? Similarly, the universe is full of jivas of all types. You have devas, you have manushyas, you have animals, you have birds, you have rakshasas. So some like devas perch on the higher branches like Swargaloka. Some like rakshasas perch on the lower branches like Patala Loka. Some like us, they perch on the middle branches like Bhuloka. That is the other one. Then is Chalanatvam. Chalanam means movement, violent movement. So what is the comparison? When there is a storm, you will find that tree moves very violently in the wind, right? Similarly, the universe is violently shaken by events which affect everybody, like wars, earthquakes, storms, typhoons. All these violently shake the universe. And when the tree moves in the wind, or when one branch moves in the wind, the others are also disturbed. And therefore, the universal tree is also shaken by karma vayu, the winds of karma. And especially where there is, so normally we talk about vyashti prarabdham, right? The prarabdham, the micro prarabdham belonging to the jiva. But when you take the prarabdham of, let us say, 100 people, how would you say that this, can you give me an example, let us say, where 150 people have got a similar prarabdha and have to experience it all on the same day at the same time? What kind of example can you think of?
Prakritik apada?
Sorry?
Prakritik apada, like facing tsunami or...
Like tsunami, that is one thing. You have natural disasters also, like earthquakes. You have, man-made disasters like plane crash. You have somebody attacking somebody else and a lot of people dying. So all this macro prarabdha. This is the prarabdha at the samashti level. And therefore, prarabdha at samashti level will shake the universe. Prarabdha at vyashti level might shake only you. But at the samashti level, it will definitely shake the universe. So that is one more. Chalanatvam. That is one more similarity. Then there is anirvachaniyatvam. It becomes difficult to explain, inexplicability. So when you try to analyze, you will find that there are many unanswered questions. What kind of questions can you think of about the tree which can lead to a big problem in life? What is the first question that you would ask?
Whether the seed came first of the tree.
Where did the tree come from? Because of the seed. How did the seed come? Because of the tree. Which one came first? Which one came first as far as the tree? It's difficult to say. If the seed came first, where did it come from? If the tree came first, then Where did the tree come from? Right? It becomes difficult to explain. A logical explanation is not proper. How will you say that same thing has to apply to the universe? This logic of tree and seed, how would you apply it to the universe?
Karma and jiva.
Karma and janma. Which came first? Birth came first or karma came first? So this is a big mystery which we call Maya. Right? Even in science, you have the Big Bang. So you can define the Big Bang. Science has defined the Big Bang. But everything about the Big Bang that science talks about is after the Big Bang. What was the condition before the Big Bang? Does anybody know? Science admits it cannot know. In fact, they use the word singularity. Singularity is a very nice scientific word to mean, which says I don't know anything. I have absolutely no information. So singularity is a word which signifies a state of no information. So science calls it singularity. We call it Maya. We call it Anirvachaniyam. We call it Mula Avidya. All same name, all the same meaning as singularity. Then the ninth one is Nitya Pravaha, constant movement, constant flow. So even though every individual tree has got a beginning and an end, the tree parampara has no beginning and no end. Because you don't know which came first, the tree or the seed, you have to say that we don't know, it was always there. And then every tree produces one seed, which will produce another tree, which will produce another seed. And in this form, the parampara, the pravaha, the flow, tree, seed, the flow is nitya, the flow is eternal. Even though every individual tree and a seed will have an end, the flow, the chain, it does not have an end. Similarly, every individual jiva seems to have birth and death. But the chain of humanity, the chain of beings, all jivas, it does not have an end. It's better not to say chain of humanity, it's better to say chain of jivas, because this jiva who is a human today may not be a human in the next birth. So chain of jivas, the life of the jiva doesn't end at the death of the physical body, but makes him reborn in another body because of his prarabdha karma. Thus, in the form of karma, janma, the jiva also is a continuous flow. Similarly, the tree also has a continuous flow. And the last one is Uchayat Yatvam. It is the uprootability of the tree. The tree can be uprooted, it can be destroyed. And the Jivatvam also can be destroyed. Even though the tree can continue, it is possible to uproot the tree and stop the tree and the seeds. End the continuity. The uprooted tree cannot continue to produce seeds. And therefore, this flow, which is seemingly eternal, can be ended by uprooting. Just so, the jiva's flow can be ended by destroying the seeds of karma. And this uprooting is done by the acts of jnana. This Krishna specifically says in chapter 50. So the tree has an invisible root, and we have to focus only on the root. That invisible root, Brahman, is the root of the samsara tree. So may you know that Brahman is the advice of Shruti. Now look at the words. Esha Ashvattaha. This vast universe is like a peepal tree, Urdhva Mulaha, with an invisible root, which is Brahman. And here Urdhvam means above. So we often say it goes beyond my head, right? You cannot understand. So Urdhvam here means Aprameyam, above the sense organs, Indriya Agocharam. Hence, Urdhvam can be taken as referring to Brahman. And Avak Shakaha, Avak means perceptible to the Pramanams. Literally, Avak means inferior. So it is Shakaha. The branches are inferior because they are able to be seen by the various pramanams. And Sanatanaha, it has a flowing continuity. Death will not put an end to samsara. So Lord Yama is saying, of these various components of the samsara tree, where should you focus? You should focus on the root. And since it is not available for inquiry in a scientific manner, using science it is not possible. Therefore, you require a different pramana. So Tad Brahma, that Brahman, which is not limited by time and space, that Brahman is Desha Kala Atita Brahman, beyond time and beyond space. Tadeva Shukram, that Brahman is Shuddham, pure and free from all karma problems. So here Shankara gives a specific, though Shukram normally means pure, Shankara says here that you should take Shukram as Chaitanya Swarupam, of the nature of pure consciousness. Therefore, he says Tadeva Shukram means Yadasya Samsara Vrikshasya Moolam. This Samsara Vriksham has a Moolam, has a Karanam, right? Which is Chaitanyam itself. Now, a question we can ask here is, when we say that something has a Karanam, a cause, that Karanam can be of two types. We are all familiar with the two types of Karanam. What are they?
And
Come again?
Parinami and Vivartupadana.
Parinami and Vivarta Upadana Karanam. Okay. And when he says Tadeva Amritam Uchyate, that Brahman is immortal. Right? That's where the comparison with the root of the tree ends. Every comparison has a limitation. So here is the limitation, that the root of the tree also ends. But here he says Tadeva Amritam Uchyate, that Brahman is eternal principle. Now this Tadeva Amritam is important, because Amritam indicates what Karanam? Vivarta Karanam or Parinami Karanam?
Vivart.
Why?
Because Amritam is something which does not die or change. So
Yes.
but it does not change.
So why not Parinami?
Parinami changes its Surupam.
Parinami Upadana Karanam, remember, when a Parinami Upadana Karanam is involved in the production of something, the Parinami Upadana Karanam will destroy itself while producing. What is the example we always give?
Milk and curd.
Milk and curds. Milk is Parinami Upadana Karanam. After the curd is produced, the milk is no longer available. The milk has been converted into curd. It has effectively destroyed itself. And therefore it is changing. So Parinami Upadana Karanam is a changing Karanam. We all know that Brahman, it cannot change at all. And therefore Brahman has to be Vivarta Upadana Karanam. What is the example of Vivarta Upadana Karanam? Shastric example.
The gold and Niklesh and other objects.
No. Anybody?
Rajju Sarpa.
Rajju Sarpa. Why Rajju Sarpa? Because nothing happens to the Rajju when the snake is produced. When the rope produces the snake, what is the Upadana Karanam? The rope is the Upadana Karanam. The rope exists. But on inquiry, you see that rope has not changed at all. Rope has not produced anything at all. And therefore it is Vivarta Upadana Karanam. Okay. So all these concepts are important. Now, we look at the individual words in the light of what Shankaracharya says. This is the third line of the mantra. Tasmig lokaha shritaha. So that tasmig is because there's a double la over there, double consonant is there. If you are breaking it up, it will become tasmin Lokaha Svitaha Sarve. So let us take those 4 words. Tasmin Lokaha Svitaha Sarve. Okay. Lokaha. So Lokaha, as I said, Shankara already defined lokas as what? Gandharva Nagraha, Maricha Udakaha, and he also adds Maya Samaha. So Gandharva Nagaraha means the cities which are in the sky, the apparent cities which are there in the clouds. Maricha Udakaha is mirage water, and Maya Samaha. So here Samaha means like Maya. Okay, now here we have to remember that this Maya is not Vedantic Maya. This Maya is the worldly Maya. What is the worldly Maya?
Objects.
Beg your pardon?
Objects.
No, Mayavi.
Oh my.
Who's a Mayavi?
Mayavi is Ishvara.
You gone back to Vedanta. I'm talking about the Mayavi in Laukika language.
An illusion.
Mayavi is the wielder of the Maya. Maya is magic in worldly language. So Mayavi is a magician. Okay. So while studying Vedanta, you have to remember that Shankaracharya occasionally comes down to our level. So here he is saying Maya Samaha, like the magic show by a magician. What is the similarity between Gandharva Nagaraha, Maricha Udakaha, and the magic show of the magician? They are all Vyavaharika Satyam. Okay. So this entire Vyavaharika Satyam is situated where Tasmin, Sritaha is dependent upon. Sritaha means Ashritaha, dependent upon. So Lokaha, Ashritaha, the entire lokas or the mirage water or the magic show, these are all dependent upon what? Upon Tasmin. Tasmin means Paramartha Satye Brahmani. Tasmin, on that Brahman, which is Paramartha Satyam, which is the Vivarta Upadana Karana. All these Vyavaharika Satyam is Ashritaha, is dependent upon, is based upon, is superimposed upon that Paramarthika Brahman. And how should you understand these lokas, all these Gandharvanagar, etc.? How should you understand? He says, Abhava Avagamanaha. They should be understood as not being there. When Paramartha Darshane, when Jnanam is got, then you will know that all these, the entire Vyavaharika Satyam, which is based upon Brahman, that Satyam is Mithya only. And he adds the word Sarve over here. Sarve here, in the third word of that line, Sarve means Samastaha, the entire Jagat, the entire 14 lokas, which are Ashritaha upon that Brahman. They should be understood as Mithya. In short, to put it in short English, all Vyavaharika is based upon Paramarthika. All the 14 lokas, the substratum is Brahman. Just as the substratum of all the ornaments of the necklace, the bangle, the toe ring, the ring, all the substratum of all these ornaments is what? Gold only. And therefore, actually speaking, when you talk about existence being lent, you have to understand what lends existence to the gold bangle, the gold alone. What is the gold? The Upadana Karanam, Parinami Upadana Karanam. Therefore, it is the Parinami Upadana Karanam, the material cause, which is lending existence to the product. Ornaments borrow existence from the material cause, which is the gold. And just so, the entire universe borrows its existence from this material cause, which is what? What is the Parinami Upadana Karana of the universe?
Prakriti. Maya.
Maya. Maya is Mithya. And therefore, what borrows existence from a Mithya cause is also Mithya. Therefore, the entire universe is Mithya. Remember that Maya is mithya because Maya is dependent upon Brahman. And therefore, since Maya is mithya, any product of Maya is also mithya. The entire Jagat borrows existence from this mithya Maya. That is why the entire Jagat is also mithya. And then he says, Tadu na atyeti kasyanaha. Nothing in creation is superior to that. Nothing in creation exists beyond that Brahman. Like the pot cannot exist apart from the clay. And therefore only etad vaitat in Nachiketas. This is the Brahman that you were asking about. Okay. Now we will go to the second mantra of this section.
Oh, Acharya.
Yeah.
One question. What when we were making the comparisons between the fig tree and Jagat, the last comparison was Uchayet what?
Yeah. So I will put it in the group so that you can get the correct pronunciation.
Okay.
Basically,
Thank
it
you
means
so
that which
much.
can be uprooted.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So let us look at the second mantra. Yadidam kincha jagat sarvam.
Yadidam kimcha jagat sarvam.
Prana ejeti nasthritam.
Prana ejet jati nishritam.
Mahadbhayam vajramudyatam.
Bhayam vajramudyatam.
Mahadbhayam vajramudyatam.
Mahadbhayam bhatramudyatam.
Ye etad viduramritaste bhavanti.
Ya etad viduramrtaste bhavanti.
Ye etad viduramritaste bhavanti.
Ya etad viduramrtaste bhavanti.
So idam sarvam jagad. This entire universe. So that idam comes from the first word. Idam jagat sarvam. Idam sarvam jagat. This whole universe. Yat kincha. So that yat is the remaining part of idam. Yat idam kincha. Okay. So yat idam. So he's saying that this entire universe, yat kincha, whatever it is made of. Yat kincha means whatever that universe is made of. Nisritam. Nisritam means emerges from, is born from. And ejati. Ejati means moves. It keeps moving. Why? Prane. So here prana means Brahman. Because of Brahman. And Mahad Bhayam. This Brahman is a great terror. Is a great tyrant. This Brahman is a great tyrant. Udyatam Vajram. Udyatam means holding in raised hands. Vajram is a weapon which is supposed to be Indra's weapon. Mahat Bhayam, Udyatam Vajram. This Brahman is a great terror, great tyrant. He holds in his hands, an uplifted hands, he holds a weapon. Ye te viduhu, those who know, etat bhavanti, those who know this. Ye te viduhu etat. Those who know this Brahman, bhavanti amritaha. They become immortal. A very, very confusing verse. Okay. So, why is Brahman a great terror? Okay, before this, just one last comment on the Upadana Karanam. Remember that the existence of a product, we said, is borrowed from the material cause, the Upadana Karanam. And we must be very clear here that when we say Upadana Karanam lends existence, it is always the Parinami Upadana Karanam which lends existence and not the Vivarta Upadana Karanam. Right? So when we say the pot is, the isness of the pot, the existence status of the pot is borrowed from the clay, not from the potter. And when you say Brahman is Upadana Karanam and Nimitta Karanam, because of that he says here, Prane Jati. Because of Brahman it moves. And elsewhere you will see Brahman is Pranasya Pranaha, that which makes the very prana move. And that's why Prane here means in the presence of Brahman alone. You can't say Brahman makes it move. You have to say in the presence of Brahman alone, everything moves. And therefore, Sarvam Jagat Nisritam. The whole universe can be born in the presence of Brahman alone from Maya. Just as the waves can emerge only when the water is there. The dream world can arise not from the waker, only when the dreamer comes into being. So Nisritam means evolves, emerges. And Ejati. Ejati means violently moves. And nothing in creation, we remember, is ever stationary. And that is why, in any idol of Nataraja, how is this represented, this violent movement?
In the dance.
Actually, dance, of course, is there. That, of course, a representation. But when you look at the idol,
because his hair is flying.
they call it hair is flying. Okay, that is the representation that it is in movement. So Ejati means Thiti Karanam. And therefore, we are saying here that Brahman is the material cause, the Upadana Karanam. When we say that, you have to think about it as Maya. Because Maya is not different from Brahman. Maya is dependent upon Brahman. There is no Maya without Brahman. So Maya is Parinami Upadana Karanam. And in the second line here, he talks about Brahman as the Nimitta Karanam, the efficient cause, the Vivarta Upadana Karanam. Right? How is that affected? All the natural laws in the world, all the nature's laws, gravity, this, that, and the other, as well as the law of karma. According to all those laws, any action will produce result. And according to karmic laws, any karmic action will produce invisible papam and punyam. And therefore he says, Mahad Bhayam. He is a great tyrant. Why? Because how will you relate the law of karma to the status of Brahman as a tyrant? What is a tyrant? A merciless fellow. So,
No one is spared, kind of,
law of karma spares nobody. If a person violates that law of karma, it punishes without discrimination, of course, but without mercy also. And that's why Krishna said, Vinashaya Dushkritam. And hence he says this Bhagavan has got a weapon, like Udyatam Majram, like a person with an uplifted weapon. All these are indicating what? That Ishvara is Nimitta Karanam. And this has to be understood properly. And it can be also understood properly only when one understands the Lord not as a person, but as a formless intelligence or consciousness principle. And furthermore, I have to understand that this formless intelligent consciousness principle, of which the entire world is afraid, is I alone. I as the Nimitta Upadana Karanam of this universe. And what is the benefit of this knowledge? Te Amritaha Bhavanti. They become immortal. They transcend time. They escape from Lord Yama's hands. Now the question is, how can you say that Jagat functions out of fear of Brahman? So here is the way that Shruti uses the word Brahman. Remember, it can be either Saguna Brahman or Nirguna Brahman. Here, what is the usage representing?
Nirgun.
So, Nirguna Brahman cannot create.
Hmm? No, the
Nirguna,
second line part. The second line.
second line is Mahad Bhayam Vajram Uditam. He is standing with his weapon raised. So it has to be the
Oh.
Karma Phala Data.
Okay.
So Saguna Brahman. Vivarta Karana, okay. But Saguna Brahman. Okay. And this is Karana Brahman. Remember that all the Adidaivatam and Adhyatmikam forces which we talk about, what are they? Adidaivatam is all the Devatas. Adhyatma is all the natural organs of the body. This is what is represented here. And of course, this word Mahad Bhayam is more clearly explained in the next mantra, which we will also do so that the continuity remains. Okay, we will not stop here.
Acharya, I'm so sorry I'm interrupting.
Yes.
I'm still stuck on that statement that you made that the existence is from the Parinami.
Yes.
Because, all this while we say Satchit Ananda is Brahma Swarupam, Brahma is Satchit Ananda, existence,
Correct.
consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been speaking about that Sat, about that existence. Like, existence is only from Brahma. Brahma is existence itself.
Yes.
Right now we're talking about Parinami, we're talking about Mithya, we're talking
Yes.
about Maya,
Yes.
and the existence being that Mithya, existence being that Maya, defined by that, which is not kind of in line with what
We're talking about the existence of the product, the existence of the bangle.
But there is no existence of that bangle or product without the existence principle itself.
Agreed. But if at all you say that I am existing, my body is existing, there are two causes. One is the Vivarta Upadana Karanam and one is the Parinami Upadana Karanam. The Parinami Upadana Karanam in this case is Maya. Can it exist without Brahman?
Well, it has no, that's the thing, right? It has no existence, really. The existence
From the Paramarthika point of view, yes.
Yeah.
From the Vyavaharika point of view,
again, I mean, Vyavahara itself is mithya. So what are we really talking about?
correct. But all discussions, all teaching, everything is taking place in Vyavahara.
Yeah.
So we should, be very clear about this, that everything happens in Vyavahara only. The only thing I can understand is this Vyavahara is a dependent reality, yes. But if I am existing in this Vyavahara, my existence is borrowed from Maya, which borrows existence from Brahman.
So
it is not that Maya does not exist. Maya exists. But it is not what? Satyam. It is mithya. See, existence, non-existence rather, has two shapes. Tuchha Rupa Asat and Mithya Rupa Asat. So whenever we talk about non-existence here in Vedanta, we are not talking about Tuchha Rupa Asat. We are talking about Mithya Rupa Asat. Mithya Rupa Asat exists. That is why Anirvachiniyam. It cannot be called existing or non-existing.
So we can call it like a provisional existence, right? Provisional. There for kind of.
But it is the provisional body and mind which understand the non-provisional Brahman.
Yeah. No, because it can otherwise get a little bit. I think actually I would request you to spend some more time on this particular mantra because it's very important.
It's an extremely important
And
mantra.
I don't think I've kind of actually got it.
That is why the concept of existence as such, we have to be very clear about. Whenever we are in the teaching context, we are talking about existence, we are always talking about Mithya Rupa existence. Excepting when we talk about Brahman, which is from the Paramarthika point of view. From the Paramarthika point of view, remember Brahman is the only thing which exists. But if you say that, we are all non-existent, then this class cannot take place. See? So that existence, what you call provisional existence, is Mithya Rupa Asat. Mithya Rupa Asat is actually not Satyam, which is true. But everything takes place, all transactions takes place in this Asat only. That is why it's called Vyavaharika. All Vyavahara, all transactions take place only in Vyavahara. And therefore, you have to understand that whatever I say, what borrowing of existence, remember Brahman is Akarta. It does not lend anything to anybody. You cannot say that I'm borrowing Sat from Brahman, because Brahman does not lend. But there is Mithya, Mithya is there, Maya, which because it exists in Brahman, it can be taken as not separate from Brahman, and yet it is part of Brahman. So that existence, that seeming existence of Maya, that is being borrowed. That can be borrowed only from Maya. From Brahman, you cannot borrow existence.
Who is borrowing it?
The whatever the Jagat is, that is borrowing it.
Maya itself.
Maya itself. One is Vyashti Maya, one is Samashti Maya. Samashti Maya is the giver. Vyashti Maya is the taker. Why is Samashti Maya superior to Vyashti Maya? Because Vyashti Maya can get destroyed. Samashti Maya cannot get destroyed. It is always the one who remains who lends. Therefore, Samashti Maya lends, and we, whose bodies are Vyashti Maya or Avidya, we borrow. That is why they use Avidya for us and Maya for Samashti.
I mean, also it can, it's actually that Maya is, whether it is Samashti or Vyashti, it is Maya that is borrowing. You know, Brahman is not lending any existence. Brahman is not lending consciousness, but Maya is borrowing.
You can't borrow with somebody without somebody lending. Because Maya exists in Brahman. It imbibes, it seems to exist. Right? You cannot say Maya is permanent, because Maya's very existence depends upon Brahman. The name and the form depend upon the gold.
You know, this word Anirvachaniyam is extremely crucial, I think.
So that is why I'm saying the Anirvachaniyam word has to be drilled into our minds. And therefore, when I ask you, do you understand Maya? If you say, I do, then you have not understood Maya. Okay? The only way you can understand Maya is when you say that Maya cannot be understood. And therefore, I have not understood. The person who says, I've understood Maya, he requires to do Shravanam all over again. That is the very definition of Maya, that which cannot be categorized at all. And therefore, wherever there is Maya, there will always be open questions. And good Shravanam requires that we accept, yes, this open question will always be there. So that is, your question is part of that open question. It cannot be answered.
No, thank you so much for your patience. I think that the Anirvachaniyam, like you said, has to be drilled into.
Anirvachaniyam has to be drilled. In fact, for the Anirvachaniyam, those Vivek Chudamani verses, you know, those are very beautiful verses. I don't know how many of you have done that. There are a few verses on Maya and Vivek Chudamani. They're really beautiful.
When you were teaching us Tattvabodha Acharya, you had actually done
I did those verses, yeah. Those are beautiful verses. And they give you an absolutely clear example of what Maya is and how I cannot really put Maya into any box.
Thank you, Acharya.
Okay. So with this, we'll have to stop for today. Any questions? You must remember that from now on, the degree of absolute certainty in concepts will become more and more diffused. Because you cannot have absolute certainty wherever there is Maya involved.
So this word Vajram Udyatam is used as a simile only, right?
Like a weapon, having a weapon, as if he has a weapon in his hand.
So
that is qualifying the term, Mahad Bhayam.
Okay.
Great tyrant.
Right.
So in fact, the next verse, there will be a little more explanation on what it really means. So that we'll do in the next class.
Acharya.
Yeah.
Yeah, please do go ahead.
Thank you so much. So when we refer to the karma paladata, what does the word data stands for?
Data means giver of,
Okay.
allocator of.
Can I ask?
Yeah, Rashmiji, believe.
Yes, the Jadugar example you gave, Acharya. So isn't Jadu pratibhasik? It's not really happening. It's just illusion.
That is the very definition of pratibhasik. You see it, therefore it is.
So that's not vyavaharik.
No, it's not vyavaharik. It is pratibhasik.
Okay.
It is used here because from the vyavahara point of view, from the vyavaharik satyam point of view, pratibhasa is the lower order of reality.
Yeah.
So wherever you use comparisons like this, the dream, for example, is used as a comparison. The dream is pratibhasika.
Yes.
And it is taken as an example because it is of a lower order of reality than vyavaharika. After having understood the dream, you have to transpose it to vyavaharika and paramarthika. The vyavaharika becomes the paramarthika, the pratibhasika becomes the vyavaharika, lower order of reality. That is the understanding of all the examples.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
Actually, Acharya, I did not know that one of the meanings of the word Mayavi was, magician. One has heard of this, like, for example, in the Puranas or in the Ramayana also, Mayavi, that person is a Mayavi. I did not know it meant magician. So now it makes a lot of sense because at that point in time, I had no idea what they're talking about. Wielder of Maya, I had no idea what it meant.
Wielder of magic. The one who does the magic is the magician.
Yeah, now I understand. Thank you.
They also use the word Mayavi for Ishvara, okay? The one who wields his Maya.
Yeah. No, so this was obviously not used in terms of, it was actually used for certain asuras or rakshasas.
Yeah. Those are Puranic concepts. Yes, correct. Okay, so with this, we'll stop for today. Thank you for your patience. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnamasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you.